Hi everyone, in this video I'm replying to an email where I got a question asking what are the 3 best landscape lenses that you can buy which aren't too expensive. And originally I was thinking it's like, whoa, okay, 3 landscape lenses. That's an odd thing to say. Like, although it's a perfectly honest question, the thing is landscapes can be very different from one person to another. You can have either big, wide, panoramic landscape shots. You can have more kind of telephoto landscape shots. So there's not an individual focal length, which definitely classifies as a landscape lens at all. However, if you were saying you're only able to get one lens, I would say go wide angle. And as wide angle as you can. I would say we were to also talk about full frame here. So if you're going even the 24 to 70, I would say is not wide angle enough. Obviously the Nikon, I'll just show you here, the Nikon f14 to 24 would be my prime lens if I was saying I was a landscape photographer. That is the #1 lens I would want you to get. However, this lens being at £1,400 is not really your cheap kind of lens that you're looking for. So there's not really a great number of wide angles, or what I would call ultra wide angle lenses that you can get which are cheap because they're not that easy to make. Yeah, you could get the 14mm from Samyang. Is that not a fisheye? I think that's a fisheye. But that's not had very great reviews. The one which I still do, is I've got the Tokina 11 to 16mm lens. Okay, I've got it on my crop framed cameras, but I've done a couple of videos which I'll put in links down below saying that you can put it on a full frame camera, and it's a bit guff at the edges whenever you zoom into around about 16mm. The edges are a bit guff, but if you're doing an ultra wide angle shot, then you just crop out a good bit of it. So the Tokina 11 to 16mm, although it's meant to be just for DX, it may not work for the Canon. No, it should work for the Canon if you go full frame with it as well. It's a bit guff at the edges, but it does mean you get an ultra wide angle lens for what is almost 1/3 of the price of a full frame one. So then that'd be my initial idea. Get ultra wide angle. However, with landscapes you can do it in a couple different ways. You can do the ultra wide angle lens and then you can crop it out so you've got a nice panoramic. Or the other option is that you don't do such a wide angle lens, but maybe you go normal wide and take multiple shots and then stitch it together. So it's either an ultra wide and crop or multiple shots and stitch. And the good thing about doing landscapes is that you don't really need a fast lens. You don't need an f2.8 because generally you're going to be on a tripod. So you don't even need a VR or an OS or an IS lens either. So you can save money on not getting any of those things. What I would say is get a tripod. That would probably be the most important thing. And also you can relax and take your time in setting up the shot. So what I would also say is that don't be put off by maybe getting a manual lens. And again, my #1 opinion on that one would be the Samyang 35 f1.4. So although it is a ultra big aperture lens with its 1.4, you're not really going to use it for its landscapes at f1.4. You're going to be around about the 2.8 and beyond. And from there, this lens is unbelievably sharp, which if you're taking multiple shots in a row and you're stitching them together, then you want a very sharp lens. And that at f2.8 and onwards, fantastic. It's around about £400 for the Canon version, and I'm just seeing here for the Nikon version, $425. So a little bit more expensive for the Nikon version. And if you go into the blog, you can see a couple of examples where I've done a 360-degree panorama. Again, that was with an ultra wide angle lens and multiple shots. However, if you go down, there's another one called the Lake District, where I took a photo of that, and although, okay, this is actually another photo where I've actually cropped it and changed it around so it looks more like Indonesia. This was actually taken with a 50mm lens on the, which one was that? It was a Nikon D300, I think it was. And so your other option is, instead of going close and wide angle, go a little bit further away and use a longer lens. And to see the original photo, I've put that just underneath, and you can see that's what it actually looked like. That was the original photo. So that was a 50mm on a crop framed camera, and just I think, hold on, have I written it here? 50mm on the D300 with 17 images stitched together. So that was a big photo. So again, what I would say is if you're going full frame, I would say 50mm on a crop frame is a bit too much. So I would say 35 on a full frame. You've got a little bit of wide angle, and I think the Samyang would be a fantastic lens for that. What I'll do is I'll also put links to all these in the description below, so you can just click on them and head straight over and have a look at them for yourselves. Now the final option, I was trying to think, okay, for a third lens, what would it be? And it would be a telephoto lens, because I think between the 35 and 70mm, that you're not really going to use that much. But there will be certain landscape shots where you want to shoot, where you want to compress the area, where you're maybe looking down a valley, or you're looking at the, you know, really along the edge of a cliff or something like that. And I would say a 70 to 200mm lens is probably what you're going for here. I thought Nikon's brought out the 70-200 f4. Again, you don't need an f2.8. You don't even need VR, because again, you're going to be on a tripod. You should be on a tripod. And I looked at Nikon's one and I was like, oh, ouch, still £1,000. Ooh, didn't realise it was as expensive as that. So if you're not able to fork out £1,000 for an f4 lens, what to do is the Tamron have also, Tamron have the 70-200 f2 lens, which is a slower focusing, all that stuff, but you don't need to worry about it. You don't need fast focusing, and that's at £600, so you're saving 400 quid there. And that the Tamron lens got better kind of sharpness scales than a lot of the other like Sigma lenses as well. If you're a Canon shooter, you're a lot more in luck. They've got the 70-200 f4 L lens USM, and that is under £500. So that's like, whoa. Score again. I'll put a link down below if you want to go have a look at that. So if you're doing that, so the three lenses I would expect to open in a landscape photographer's rucksack, camera bag, that's the word, would be a 70-200, a 30mm or 35mm, and an ultra wide angle. So the one that I would say that you'd have to spend the money on, or if you were to spend the money on, go for the Nikon 14-24 lens. That is just like the ball. I know a couple Canon shooters as well, who Canon landscape photographers have bought the Nikon 14-24, taken off the little rubber gasket and put on the little adapter thing, I don't have it with me just now, and bought the Nikon lens and put it onto their Canon cameras. Shock horror, oh my god, yes you can actually do that. However, it does become manual only, but it is one of the best lenses you could ever get. So that would be my tips. The only other things I would say is a decent tripod. I'll put a link down to what I think is a really good tripod, and ND filters as well. So filters that you can put, neutral density graduated filters to put on the front of your lenses. Again, I'll put a link to a video and a link to what you can get online to show you what ND grad filters are for your landscape photography. So that's my little tips for you there. Hope that helps. Cheers. Bye bye. It was cold and you didn't come up at all.
Oh, boo-hiss. That was just Kat and Renee on the phone. Maybe you can provide insight. She's like, have you got no pants on?
Of course not.
You did forget that.
They're not going to see my pants.
Hilarious. She's like, we're just going on here to book our place before coming over. And if it's shit, we'll just all drink ourselves into oblivion. So, but basically, Tom, everywhere I was going on there for couldn't go, it was saying